In Los Angeles, California, we are seeing exactly where Donald Trump wants to take this country. A police state, an authoritarian country in which he has all of the power and we, the people, have no rights. This is what happens when you put in charge of a democratic country a man who is as unpatriotic, anti-American, and treasonous as they come. On Saturday, I think we're going to face yet another test. On Saturday, Donald will be honoring himself with a military parade, probably because he knows nobody else would do it. I think there are two potential outcomes because he seems not to understand that DC is not a MAGA rally. There could be a turnout so vast that it will overwhelm his petty desire for adulation. It will be so loud and insistent. So many people will come out against him and the cruelty and unconstitutionality of his regime that even if he can ignore it, many people who still support him will not be able to. Also, there's a possibility, and I think this is what Donald is hoping for, that the show of force will be so chilling that the number of armed soldiers will be so great that people won't show up in sufficient numbers, won't be loud enough, will stay home entirely, or, and I think this is really the end game for Donald Trump, there will be violence stoked by his foot soldiers. Either way, though, this is not going to work out well for him because I think even Americans who aren't paying close enough attention right now will be absolutely horrified at this North Korea-like spectacle that Donald Trump is putting on in Washington, D.C. this weekend, not for the benefit of the American people, but for the benefit of his own fragile ego and at the expense, potentially, of what most people think this country still stands for. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Mary Trump Live. It is great to be here with you. My word, what is happening? Well, exactly what we could have anticipated is happening. In the midst of the absolutely illegal and unconstitutional moves made by the Trump regime in Los Angeles, California, today Governor Gavin Newsom filed an emergency request for a restraining order to block the Trump regime from using Marines and federalized National Guard troops to enforce immigration law or other civil codes on city streets. Newsom's legal filing argues that the deployment creates, quote, imminent harm to state sovereignty, unquote, escalates tensions, and diverts vital state resources, all while violating constitutional limits on military power. The California National Guard reportedly received new orders to support federal immigration enforcement, not just protect federal buildings. This is a direct line crossing that legal experts say could be unconstitutional. And I would kind of like to stop pulling punches here. It is blatantly unconstitutional. And basically, let's just stop for 1 second. I'm hearing a lot about what statutes might potentially be violated, what articles of the Constitution Donald might use as cover or to justify these actions. I don't care. I do not care. It's wrong. He's encroaching on the constitutional rights of the American people, and he is blatantly contradicting the will of the people in California, and he is creating a situation in which the American military may indeed be called upon to attack American citizens on American soil. I don't care about statutes. It is wrong, and it has to stop. Also, it's incredibly expensive. All of this kabuki theater, these threats to the American people's sovereignty are costing the American taxpayer, most of whom do not concur with the Trump regime's actions here, $134 million. And that's according to Pentagon officials. The Pentagon is run by Pete Hegseth is saying that. So imagine how much more it probably is. And this is to fund a show of force that California says it never wanted. Newsom did not hold back, calling the deployment of active duty military unprecedented, completely unwarranted, and unlawful. He added, quote, "They shouldn't be deployed on American soil, facing their own countrymen to fulfill the deranged fantasy of a dictatorial president," unquote. Even Los Angeles Police Department leadership has voiced concern, warning that the sudden arrival of active duty troops has created serious logistical breakdowns. A restraining order is not the only thing that's slowing Donald down today. He claimed that he spoke with Governor Newsom on the phone and claimed he threatened him or urged him to, quote, "do a better job," unquote. Newsom claimed for his part that the call never took place, although he did say that he and Donald spoke on Friday. But that's a long time ago in the context of this unfolding story. He also says that Donald made no such threats at all. I don't know about you guys, but I am always going to believe the person, not Donald Trump. Phone records proved Newsom's account. The call did not take place yesterday. Newsom posted, quote, "There was no call, not even a voicemail. Americans should be alarmed that a president deploying Marines into our streets doesn't even know who he's talking to," unquote. But let's consider a bigger takeaway. While California sues to block an illegal troop surge and peaceful protesters are met with Marines, the president of the United States is obsessing over a phone log. Who called whom when and who threatened whom with what. It's petty, it's unserious, and it's happening in the context of one of the gravest situations Americans have faced in modern history. But it tells us everything we need to know about Donald's priorities. He doesn't care about keeping Americans safe. He doesn't care about protecting us from his fictional hordes of immigrants. He cares about scoring points, and he cares about his own power. He couldn't help but continue to threaten Americans even further today. He started this morning threatening the American people while he was sitting inside of the Oval Office. Watch this.
We won the war, and with...
Okay. Basically, what Donald said is that anybody who shows up to protest had better be careful. Check this out.
We won the war, and we're the only country that didn't celebrate it. And we're going to be celebrating big on Saturday. We're going to have a lot of... And if there's any protester who wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. By the way, for those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest. But, you know, this is people that hate our country. But they will be met with very heavy force.
A couple of things here. Nobody hates America more than Donald Trump hates America. That's clear. But notice what he said. He didn't say anybody who comes and stokes violence will be met with, what did he say? Heavy force? I don't know. He said anybody who shows up to protest, anybody who shows up to exercise their right to protest peacefully, as outlined in the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, will be met with force by, we don't know, local police, the Proud Boys, the Marines. We don't know. But I promise you, if anybody gives him an excuse to use force, he will take advantage of it. But the fact that the president of the United States, while sitting in the Oval Office, directly to the camera said, if you show up to protest me, you will be attacked. That's where we are. And he's been wanting to do this for a very long time. And now he has the mechanisms in place with which to carry out those very real threats. After leaving the Oval Office, Donald headed to Fort Bragg, where he watched the U.S. Army demonstrate a missile strike, and then he spoke to service members there. And once again, he threatened the American people. Take a look.
Our country are from people that love our country. People that burn the American flag should go to jail for 1 year. That's what they should be doing. 1 year. And we'll see if we can get that done. We're going to try and get that done. We're working with some of your senators. I know Senator Josh Hawley is very much involved. And I know the 2 senators from here. I think you guys, are you guys in favor of it? Why would this be a bad time for them to say no?
Oh, wow. How dare anybody disagree with me? All right. The fact that that freak is threatening Americans who are expressing their First Amendment rights to free or exercising their First Amendment right to free speech is a bit too much, but that is a settled issue. Whether you like it or not, burning the American flag has been determined by the Supreme Court of the United States of America to be an act of free speech. Think about it. Nobody gets hurt. It sends a message, that's for sure. It is an act of speech, and it cannot, therefore, be punished. And that person, Donald Trump, is saying that anybody who burns an American flag should serve 1 year in prison. That is the guy who is pardoning Nazis because they support him. Nazis who are perfectly free to protest in American streets because of that same First Amendment. But again, as long as you're doing it on Donald's behalf, it's okay. All the more reason, guys, I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you go to a protest this weekend, carry an American flag, please. All right, so it is not surprising that Donald is suddenly so enthusiastic about the flag. Just another quick aside, I'm so sorry. It's very alarming that American soldiers who swear an oath to uphold the Constitution applauded imprisoning people for burning the flag. But that's a topic for another time. So according to Donald, he's the reason we won the war.
Recently, other countries celebrated the victory of World War I. France was celebrating, really. They were all celebrating. The only one that doesn't celebrate is the USA, and we're the ones that won the war. Without us, you'd all be speaking German right now. Maybe a little Japanese thrown in. But we won the war. And we don't celebrate, but we're going to celebrate on Saturday, and we're going to celebrate from now on. We're going to celebrate our greatness and our achievements.
Okay, I'm pretty sure winning the war was a group effort. And I'm pretty sure if it had been up to Donald, he would have been missing in action, because that's the person who, I mean, first of all, he was a baby at the time. But we know that when he had the opportunity to serve his country, he got 5 deferments and let 5 other American men serve in his place. That's a guy who claims that we won the war, but none of us is celebrating. Well, what is he talking about? He's talking about celebrating him. Not going to be celebrating the war, winning the war. He's going to be celebrating him with a military parade, even though he's never fought in a war, and again, did everything in his power to avoid serving his country. And that celebration on Saturday is what we need to be very, very vigilant about, because that's no King's Day. He wants a military parade to celebrate his fictional greatness. Well, we need to come out in large numbers and oppose him and let him know that it is the American people who are in charge here, not him. So we've got a video coming out to help you prepare for protests in general, but this protest on Saturday in particular, because I think it has the potential to be an inflection point at this moment. Before we go further, though, I just want to ask you to take a second to like and subscribe, or like our videos and subscribe to our channel, either on YouTube, or you can rate and follow the podcast. Okay, so we all know that Donald likes to brag, but I think it's also fair to say, and I think people should say this to his face constantly, once a taco, always a taco, right? Now, Donald has a new friend who can share his taco nickname with him. Now it stands for Tom Always Chickens Out. So after a weekend of veiled threats to arrest Gavin Newsom, which Donald heartily endorsed yesterday, Tom Homan, an absolute thug, is scrambling to walk back his threats to arrest Governor Gavin Newsom. Empty threats, by the way, because he has no authority to arrest Gavin Newsom. And as far as I'm aware, Gavin Newsom has done nothing for which he could be arrested. In a CBS News interview Monday night, Tom Homan said the Trump regime has, quote, no intention to arrest Governor Newsom right now, unquote. Homan claimed Donald's comment was taken out of context. Let's check this out.
The president said it would be fine if you arrested Gavin Newsom. On what grounds would you arrest Gavin Newsom?
Well, that whole thing's been taken out of context. They haven't crossed the line yet. But like any other U.S. citizen, if you cross that line, I don't care who they are, the governor, the mayor, wherever, when you commit a crime against ICE officers, we will seek prosecution.
So this whole thing is just a bunch of noise, basically, because you're not claiming that Gavin Newsom has done anything to impede ICE officers.
Well, I'll leave that up to DOJ, but what I'm saying right now is when someone commits a crime, we'll ask the Department of Justice to investigate and prosecute. So I'm not a prosecutor, so we'll hand that over to DOJ, but right now, there's no intention to arrest the governor right now. I don't know if he crossed that line.
Hey, you little Nazi, keep wearing those army fatigues. You look great. Actually, you look like an idiot. Okay, here's the context that it's been taken out of. Homan actually said he was going to arrest Gavin Newsom. That's the context. So, Tom, tough guy, are you arresting him or not? My guess is not. Again, because he has no authority. And that, to me, Tom Homan is right up there with Donald Trump in terms of his being a weak, tiny little man who needs to be cruel to people less advantaged than he is in order to have any sense of self-worth. So the Trump regime's immigration blunders are continuing to get worse and worse. In classic fashion, innocent people, including children, were kidnapped by ICE, this time at a place we're pretty sure I should not be, a child's birthday party. It was recently reported that back in March, ICE agents raided what they claimed was a Trenda Aragua gang gathering in Texas, and they arrested dozens. But what did they actually raid? Yes, it was indeed a birthday party. Whereas it turns out none of the arrestees had gang ties or criminal records. The event they raided was actually a party where 47 people were arrested, including 9 children. ICE agents and Texas police entered the residence using flash grenades. One of the arrested men, who was celebrating his son's 5th birthday and his best friend's 28th, described the grenades as like bombs and said they shouted, "Babies, they're babies." Now, I don't know if you saw this recently, but Tom Homan also dressed in another fake army fatigue outfit that he's become so fond of. I think he and puppy murderer Kristi Noem are trying to out-fashion each other, actually. Sort of amusing, or it would be if it weren't so sick. He recently lied on television when he said that ICE is not going to schools. And then, of course, we were shown multiple reports in which we saw ICE going into schools, raiding schools, to look for immigrants for them to detain. So This is where we are. There are no lines anymore. We went from, and of course it was a lie from the very beginning, but at least it was theoretical. We're going after the worst of the worst. We're going after the worst, most hardened criminals. And now they're throwing flash grenades into private residences where children are celebrating their birthdays. And they're making no allowances for the presence of children at all. Just another instance to prove, as if we need more proof, that people on the right don't care about children at all. At this point, I'm hard pressed to think of any instance in which they care for any human life. We are at the beginning of this extremely troubling period in our history. I think the situation in Los Angeles could have been much worse than it so far has been. And at the very least, I think what it's doing is demonstrating to the American people just how far Donald Trump is willing to go to make sure that he continues to accrue more and more power. There's no limit here. I've said it before. I think it's worth repeating. There is no worst when it comes to Donald Trump, but things will get worse. And it will be fascinating to see what happens on June 14th. No King's Day. All right, that's a lot. So guess what it's time for? Our emotional support moment. Okay, so beachgoers along Florida's Space Coast are reporting an unusual and rare sighting in the appearance of 9 armed sea stars. They've been found washing ashore in recent days. Now, sea stars are not fish. Sea stars are what colloquially we call starfish. That's why we shouldn't call them that, because they're not fish. They're sea stars. They don't have gills. They don't have scales. They don't have fins. Instead of blood, seawater is actually used to pump nutrients through their bodies via a water vascular system. So I want you to check out this report from Orlando.
These 9 arms and tiny tentacles stopped this beachgoer in her tracks.
I was definitely a little shocked. I've seen, 5 armed sea stars before, but I've never seen anything like this.
Elise Craig was walking near Melbourne Beach when she stumbled on the sea star.
He was large. I've never seen a starfish this large.
She posted her find on Facebook and quickly realized she wasn't the only one to see a surge of stars on the Space Coast. Denise Derrick Wright stumbled on 2 stars recently in Satellite Beach.
I was kind of apprehensive when I looked at it.
Sea stars are related to sand dollars, sea urchins, and sea cucumbers. The creatures are only found in salt water. It's too soon to tell what could be bringing them out of the water. Something as simple as a patch of low oxygen in the ocean or dredging offshore. The Pacific coast had a major die-off about 10 years ago, but those sea stars were killed because of a disease caused by warmer water. Thankfully, these stars are still alive and just need some help getting back to safety. And while our local sea stars only had 9 arms, according to NOAA, these sea stars can have up to 40 arms, and if one falls off, it'll grow back just fine.
Well, good. I have to be honest, when I first saw that, I immediately thought of one of my favorite movies, Alien. And if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But that is pretty cool. I mean, once you kind of get used to the idea that they're just sort of harmless creatures who deserve to be put back into the water gently. Okay, so before I get to your questions and comments, just want to let you know that a choice has been made. Let's see, hang on a second. Oh, okay. A choice has been made to hold no Kings events in every city except Washington, D.C. This is a deliberate choice to keep the focus on contrast and not give the Trump administration an opportunity to stoke and then put the focus on conflict, unquote. I'm not thrilled about that. I have to be honest with you. But I mean, I personally think I think it would have been really great to see many, many more people there showing up to protest him. And you know, I understand the concerns about violence. I do, because that is what Donald wants. But I think it could have sent a very powerful message. I respect the decision of the organizers, and I respect people's desire to be safe as possible. But I think DC would have been probably the best place to make a statement. And I don't really know that it's, look, if you're going to go to a protest in this environment, you have to go with eyes wide open. I mean, it is not going to be 100%. Your safety is not going to be 100% guaranteed. So, we all go into this knowing that we have to be careful. I think that's just as true in Los Angeles and New York and Chicago and cities in red states as it is in Washington, D.C. So I'm curious to know what you guys think. I will be thinking about it more. And yeah, I want to know a little bit more about how that decision was arrived at, when it was arrived at, if it has anything to do with what's happening in LA. Again, I think I disagree, but I'm going to think about it more. Okay, let's see what we got here. Zilla, thank you so very much. I think this is a question. If Donald doesn't read, isn't likely he's also not the one posting all these paragraphs of comments on social media. If not him, who? Some of them sound just like Pam Bondi to me. Well, Donald can read. I mean, he's not illiterate in that sense. He probably doesn't have great reading comprehension, but he can read. And I think for the most part, he does post his own and repost his own stuff on social media. But I mean, other people post for him as well. So I don't know that Pam Bondi would be, but Stephen Miller probably does. So yeah, so if the person posting sounds like a fascist and it's not Donald, it could be Stephen Miller. D, thank you so much. Super sticker. That's awesome. Invisible Pink Unicorn 762. Thank you so very much as always. That's excellent. Comment, thank you for everything you do. I cannot even imagine what kind of hell these poor immigrants are going through. I'm still protesting. He doesn't scare this veteran. I took an oath. Yeah, well, thank you for that. I hope all veterans or most veterans feel the same way. That is one of the greatest scams Donald has ever pulled, is convincing service members and veterans that he actually cares at all about them, because he does not. I just don't get it. His 5 deferments. I mean, not that people know this, but the way he treated my father, who wasn't actually in the National Guard, his contempt for the idea of service for people who have served and been wounded. I don't get it, but it has been quite something to see. I hope that the events of the last couple of days start to change people's minds, because I'd like to think that active duty service members and veterans understand just how incredibly wrong it is to deploy troops on American soil for these purposes. Jana, wow, Jana, thank you so very, very much. That's very generous of you. Comment, my dad was a Vietnam draftee who hated draft dodgers and traitors and loved those who called it out loudly. He would have been so angry now. I've heard you call his ass out twice today, so thanks. Thank you. And yeah, he needs to be called, Donald needs to be called out at every single opportunity. Mary, thank you so much for that ESM fee. That's new. I think that's the first one we've gotten. Love it. In support of the Sea Stars. Paul, super sticker. Thanks so much, Paul. Appreciate it. Rose Blue, thank you as well. TTL. I'm sorry. I'm not good with these things. It took me like years to figure out what BRB meant. But anyway, thank you. Somebody's going to tell me. I know it. or not. Tidy Scout just joined as a new member. Thank you so much. That's great. Love that. Jen Hoven, question. They can have 40 arms? What the fuck? I know, right? I have to confess to you. Once they get past 5, they're not as cute. But that's my own prejudice. I don't mean to impose it on anybody else, but maybe it's just because I've seen the movie Alien 40 times. I found that a little alarming at first. But they're sea stars. 40 would be yeah. Keep that in the deep sea waters. I'm not entirely sure what I would do if I stumbled upon a 40-armed sea star on a beach, especially at night. Betty Veronica 2.0. Comment, a bigger star than Donald could ever hope to be. No kidding. In every single way. Shelly, no Kings Portland. See you there, free people. Yes, seriously. If you can, please go to one of these No Kings protests. They're, as far as I'm aware, they're kind of everywhere. Okay, I think I have a translation. Total bullshit. Sounds about right to me. Not about the protest. Sorry. That was a deep cut to a previous comment. Rexor comment, this would be a great time to resurface all those leaked emails from Fox people who actually can't stand Donald. Just as a refresher, wouldn't it just? Yeah, it's just incredible. Like the more we have things on tape, we have video, we have documentary evidence, and it's like the more we have, the less it matters. It's kind of fascinating. Zelda, that's cool. I love seeing currencies am not familiar with. So thank you for that. First of all, now I need to know what that is. Homan's clothes are the red hat version of racist South African farmers. No coincidence. We spot them a mile away. Yeah, I was thinking the Contras of the Iran Contras. That's what it looks like to me. But yes, I'm telling you, if Donald shows up wearing military garb on Saturday, then we know that we've crossed that line. Marshall, super sticker. Thank you so much, Marshall. It's great. From Substack, Emily says, over 1,800 protests planned. Sign up at nokings.org. Okay, got your marching orders. Nokings.org. 1,800 protests. That's phenomenal. And Vicky, a new member. Love it. That is a good note to end on. All right. So first of all, thanks to everybody watching on YouTube, streaming on Twitter, and on my Substack, The Good in Us. It is great to have you guys here. And of course, everybody listening to the podcast. Thank you to all of our super stickers, everybody giving us gifts, and to our new members. Welcome. It's great to have you. I just want to remind those of you who are members or thinking of becoming members that our book club, the book that we're reading for this month's book club, that's going to be our very first meeting, has been posted in the community tabs for book club members. So I want to thank our moderators, Susan and Deb, for that. So in response to your request, we're releasing a video after the live on how to prepare for protesting. I just want to flag that again. So your viewing and joining our community is a fantastic way to support us. We very much appreciate it. But a lot of people are asking ways to provide additional support. So if you'd like, it would be fantastic if you could go over to my Substack, which again is called The Good in Us, and consider becoming a paid subscriber over there. If you'd like to support on YouTube, again, we now have memberships, paid memberships, which you can find at the top of our YouTube page. So if you click on that, you can see all the different membership levels and what you get with them. And yeah, we're gonna have fun with it. So thank you for checking that out. The easiest way to support us is just to subscribe to the channel, which is free, and that gives us access to our our lives, and Ask Mary Anything Within Reason, the Nerd Avengers, and all of the standalone videos we drop every single day. Another great way to support us is to watch those videos, like them, share them, and comment on them. That really helps us with the algorithm. And what else? Thank you to our moderators for just doing this great work you do, but just kind of out of the kindness of your heart, which is awesome. And of course, to my extraordinary team, it has been, I mean, I know we could say this every week, but the weekends keep getting harder, quite frankly, which makes the beginning of the week difficult because there's so much to catch up on. There's so much to sift through. And as you are aware, very little of it's good. So thanks to them for helping me convey to you guys what we think is the most important news you need. We will be back here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Again, Monday through Friday, Mary Trump Live. Check out our other videos. And that does it for us tonight. Thank you so much for being here. See you tomorrow night. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind.